What's up, friends? Happy hour. Welcome in to this all new happy hour edition of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. It is a day before game day, Packers Browns in Cleveland, preseason game one. Could not be more excited. Hope you guys are pumped for it as well. Looking forward to seeing some of these rookies play, backup quarterback situation. A lot of roster battles will start to take shape. So should be a fun one. It's preseason. So, you can only get so excited, but you know me, I'm going to geek out about pretty much anything Packers related. And that certainly is not going to change for tomorrow. As always, any sort of super chats or stickers will go right to the top of the conversation. We'll try to get to as many chats as I possibly can. We'll try to get to as many member chats as well. So super chats, member chats, and then as many other chats that I can possibly get to. Should be a really fun one with training camp going on, as well as preseason getting ready for tomorrow. So let's start asking questions and let's start answering them right away. No time to waste. Glenn, thanks so much. What's the truth about Jordan Love's tweak late in practice? I don't think the truth is any different than anything that's sort of been reported so far. And I think it's mostly much ado about nothing. Yeah, anytime you see number 10 on the ground and, just kind of holding his leg a little bit and you see some trainers around him, it's never a great scene. It's never exactly what you're looking for or hoping for. But it sounds like it was, again, much ado about nothing. He was jogging around after practice, as Matt Schneidman said on his radio show. Basically, he was, joking around in the locker room. He didn't have a locker room availability, so nobody could ask him. But overall, it doesn't seem like there's an issue here. If he all of a sudden doesn't play tomorrow, that will raise a little bit more of a red flag. But per all indications, he's totally fine. And I think had there been any sort of major issue, we probably would have known by now. So no, I think no harm, no foul is kind of what I'm going with at this moment. Spaceman, you're in the wrong chat, my friend. That sounds like a Tom Grassi question. I am legally obligated not to use freaking fracking. No, I'm just kidding. We are freaking fracking ready for some real football, like as much as preseason football is real football. But no, certainly excited for it. No question about it. Kevin, who on the offensive line do you want to see the most in tomorrow's preseason game to get good amount of reps? I was talking about this a little bit with Dennis Krause for tomorrow's pregame episode. For me, the offensive line is one of the real keys to watching this game. I think you end up with this really interesting dynamic where your top six guys are probably known, probably with the lineup that they have and probably in order, right? You're looking at Rasheed Walker as your left tackle, Elton Jenkins at left guard, Josh Myers at center, Jordan Morgan, assuming he can get back relatively soon, at right guard, and then Zach Tom at right tackle. And Sean Rhyan is probably the first guy off the bench. Those are your first six guys, your six guys that you probably feel pretty comfortable with. After that, numbers 7 through the rest of the roster, I think everything is sort of up for grabs after that. I don't think anyone's really claimed a position. I don't think anyone is guaranteed a spot on the active, 48-man game day roster. Now, I think Jacob Monk is probably the most likely to be a true 53-man roster guy after those first six. So he's probably locked in a spot, but whether that's as the number 7 guy or as the number 10 guy, that could remain to be seen. But I think everything else is like truly up for grabs. And I think you could go from being the 7th guy and potentially a swing tackle at one of the left tackle or right tackle positions and being, maybe an injury or two away from legitimately going in the game to legitimately not making the team. I don't know that, Kadeem Telfort couldn't earn that number 7 spot and be the backup at left tackle or right tackle, but also if he doesn't play well, potentially not make the roster. And I think you could go with Andre Dillard, Royce Newman, Travis Glover. We could go on. Donovan Jennings needs to get healthy, but I think all of those spots are really, truly up for grabs. And I don't think anyone's really, put their stamp on it yet and said, yep, I'm going to be that guy that you can trust. So how the backup offensive line plays and how those spots number 7 through 9 or 10 really sort of, come into focus. I think that's going to be really interesting. And I want to see a lot of those guys. I want to see Caleb Jones. I want to see Kadeem Telfort. I want to see more of Jacob Monk. I want to see some Travis Glover. I just want somebody to step up and take that spot and say, yep, you can count on me as a backup offensive lineman if need be. How do you expect to see the quarterbacks rotated tomorrow? A series or 2 for Jordan, probably 2.5 quarters-ish for Sean Clifford, and then maybe second half of the fourth quarter, or maybe just a tad bit more than that for Michael Pratt. Sorry, I couldn't think of his name for a second. Probably for Michael Pratt. So that's probably how I see it divvied up But Matt basically said that Clifford would probably see the majority of the time. Jordan's could be the first drive if they go down there and score right away. If they go 3 and out 2 times, maybe he gives him 3 drives, and who knows? But I think it's going to be very minimal snaps for Jordan, a lot of Sean Clifford, a little bit of Michael Pratt. Alex, thanks for being here. If you were cast into the future and told 3 members of this roster made the Hall of Fame, which ones would you guess it would be? 3 made the Hall of Fame. I'm going to say that you're going to allow me to do players only and that I can't do coaches or front office personnel or anything like that. So 3 players on this roster end up in the Hall of Fame. I'll probably go Jordan just because quarterbacks are going to have a little bit more opportunity. So I'll go Jordan. Love, not Morgan. Who would be the next most likely? Kenny's not on the trajectory. I don't think Rashan is on that trajectory. Certainly not Elton. I don't think Zach Tom is really on that trajectory. Could a wide receiver get there? Maybe. I think that's a possibility. One of the tight ends, probably not, but not completely out of the realm of possibility. I don't think. I'm going to go. This is a really fun question. I'm going to actually go with. Jair Alexander and Dontavian Wicks is who I would go with. And I'll explain my reasoning. I think with Jair, you've already got 1 first-team All-Pro and a second-team All-Pro, and he looks phenomenal right now. And if he goes out and has another All-Pro season this year, you start getting a little bit more in that conversation. Like he probably needs 4 or 5 really good years with probably, at least 1 first-team All-Pro, a couple second-team All-Pros, and some Pro Bowl nods mixed in there. It needs to be some really good seasons up and coming. But I think he potentially at least has the possibility of making that happen. And I'm going to go with Dontavian Wicks just because I see some of that very unique separation ability and route running ability and run after the catch ability. And it's definitely a stretch. It's not likely at all. He's probably the number 4 guy on this receiver right now. But we've also seen guys that have been really great route runners at wide receiver that maybe take a second to develop. And I could see Dontavian maybe making that Devontae Adams-esque type leap. He's still only 23 years old. He's still very, very young. And it's going to take him getting on that trajectory very quick. Maybe not this year, but probably by next year. But I think if you're looking at it's really tough to say Hall of Fame career. Could you maybe say one of the rookies from this year, like an Evan Williams or a Javon Bullard has an amazing career? Sure. Could probably go in that direction. But I would definitely feel most comfortable with Love and Alexander would be 2 of those guys. And then after that, I think it gets a whole heck of a lot harder. And you're basically just making projections at that point. Heartbroken Hog, what are the chances we have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense? Well, the Athletic Football Show, nationwide show, Robert Mays and friends do such a great job on that show. They just did their top 10 offenses for the season and their top 10 defenses for this season. And Robert Mays had the Packers in his top 10 offense and the Packers at number 7 on defense. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think the offense needs to continue to progress and kind of pick up from where they left off a season ago and hopefully even get better from there. I think they're going to need some injury luck. And, as much as I am trying not to get my hopes up on the defensive side of things, I am excited about where they're at right now. I'm excited about where they could potentially head, but they're going to need to really come together as a group, show what they're capable of. There's probably going to be some bumps in the road, but I think they have the talent and the scheme to potentially at least be in the conversation for that top 10. So it's definitely not completely out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, nationwide show, Athletic Football Show predicted that both of those teams, or both the offense and the defense, would be in the top 10. So yeah, it's definitely worth having a conversation about because I think it is possible. Parker, who is your breakout candidate on offense and on defense? All right, let's think through this a little bit. I really do believe, and again, breakout's always tough because has this player already had their breakout? Have they not? I really believe on offense, Tucker Kraft is going to break out in a major way. And I haven't been able to see anything from camp to prove that because he's been hurt and now just getting into individual drills. But I think he's going to be an extremely well-rounded tight end. I think he's going to be a big-time weapon in this offense. I could see a very big Tucker Kraft breakout on offense. And on defense, I mean, I think the two rookies at safety, Javon Bullard and Evan Williams, certainly, deserve to be in that conversation. Carl Brooks, maybe Devontae Wyatt. I know a lot of people will talk about. I'm actually going to go. Yeah, you guys know I've been a little bit tough on this player. I'm going to actually go Quay Walker, I think, on this one. I do see a renewed confidence in Quay Walker. And I think he fits very well in this defense. I think he's able to flow to the football a little bit more and utilize his instincts rather than having to sort of stop and think so much. I think they're going to use him in a more attacking way. And I think that's really going to unlock all of that potential that he has. I thought he's played very well at inside linebacker in camp so far. Had a great deflection on a pass the other day that led to a Xavier McKinney interception. So I'm going to actually go Quay Walker, and I'm going to go Tucker Kraft on offense. All right. We got a super chat here. Thanks so much, Brett. Do you see the Sam Darnold experiment working in Minnesota? Depends on how we want to define work. I don't think that Sam Darnold is going to come in and be a top 15 quarterback in the league and all of a sudden find his footing and all of a sudden be amazing. I don't see that happening. I think what they are paying for and what they're going to get out of Sam Darnold is exactly what they expect. I think he's going to come in, be a stopgap, give them an option at quarterback so that they don't have to force JJ McCarthy in right away. And they can wait to make the decision to put JJ McCarthy in the starting lineup until they feel extremely comfortable that McCarthy is the guy and he's ready to go and it's time for him to be the starter. And I think that's very valuable. I think sometimes the worst thing that can happen to a young quarterback is they get thrown in too early and they're not ready. And it's not that they make mistakes. That's fine. It's how they handle that adversity. And do they lose confidence because of it? If they go in early and they lose confidence, sometimes quarterbacks don't come back from that. We've seen it with Zach Wilson. We've seen it. We've seen it, Johnny Manziel, and there's other factors that clearly go into that as well. But we have seen it from a variety of different quarterbacks through the course of time that go in too early, lose their confidence, get rattled, and they never come out of it. So I think for the Vikings, I think a lot of the stuff that they have done, as much as it pains me to say, have been really, really smart for JJ McCarthy's long-term development. I think bringing in Josh McCown as a quarterbacks coach was extremely smart. I think going out and making sure that they get Justin Jefferson on that extended contract and get that deal done. Same thing with Christian Darrisaw was really smart. I think they've, really helped themselves along the offensive line over the last couple of years. They've got Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, once he gets back from injury, Aaron Jones, they go out and get at running back, as painful as that is as well. I think for both Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy, and I think their offense is really smart too. I think they do a really good job of taking care of their quarterbacks, as we've seen from Kirk Cousins these last couple of years when he was healthy. So I think Darnold's going to be in a good position, but I think he is a seat warmer until McCarthy is ready. And I don't know if anyone's been following McCarthy in Minnesota so far. It's been almost all against the twos. So take it with some grain of salt, but he looks really, really good. He's like the tape of him, the throws that he's making, and just the confidence that he's playing with, the mobility, the arm strength. It's been really, really impressive so far from McCarthy. Now, again, I don't think he's ready yet. I think it's going to take time for him to develop, but he is still very young. He's got the winning mentality, and, we'll see. Clearly, I'm not hoping, for a great, JJ McCarthy, Minnesota Vikings offense anytime soon, but I think they are doing things the right way. As much as you guys know, I'm a Packers fan, I'm an NFL fan, and I appreciate when teams do things the right way. And I wish that was in, maybe some AFC teams rather than Vikings and Bears, right? But I think the Vikings and Bears, especially the Vikings, the Bears have still made some questionable decisions here and there, but I think the Vikings have really done a nice job of surrounding McCarthy and Darnold with the talent that they need, and giving McCarthy a little bit of a runway so that he doesn't have to come in and start right away. And I'll just add one more thing on top of that, Brett, too. I think that team, Minnesota, I know a lot of people are expecting them to finish fourth in the division. I think they're going to be really competitive. And if nothing else, a pain in the ass for everyone else. Like, I don't think that you're looking at the schedule and being like, we're excited to play Minnesota. That's going to be an easy W. I think they're going to give a lot of teams a very hard time. That's a tough defense to game plan for. I think they have better personnel on defense to run that system that they want to run than they did a season ago when it already started. Brian Flores and company already started to really ingrain that defense into his philosophy. I think they're going to even be better with guys like Andrew Van Ginkel. They go and get the guy from Alabama in the first round, Dallas Turner, right? And then Grenard from the Texans. They go get Blake Cashman from the Texans as well as inside linebacker. I think they've done some good things, but that secondary, Minnesota, they actually just traded Andrew Booth today. that secondary Minnesota is brutal. So if you're looking for a weak spot, it is definitely that, specifically the corner position. All right, Cheese Stradamus, thanks again for your expertise. Keep it coming, Andy. I will always do so. And it's like I always say, it's a blast talking about this stuff. So you don't have to thank me. It is a passion project. It is my absolute pleasure to be doing so. Wix, that was my Hall of Fame guest too. Love that. All right, just trying to get as many of the members as we can get first. Remember, Super Chats will go to the top of the list. Hey, buddy, let's hope the screen game works against the Browns. My goodness. I don't get it. I'm genuinely very confused. All right, let's parse out what you need to have a good screen game. Okay. I think first of all, you have to have a smart coach that knows how to design plays and make sure that you're getting these plays drawn up the right way. Matt is a fantastic offensive coach, and some of his play development and play design are just beautiful. So like you would think he's clearly going to be able to draw up some very unique and creative and explosive screenplays, but we haven't seen that. All right, what else do you need? Well, you kind of sometimes want a little bit of a mobile quarterback. You don't necessarily want a statue because you do have to get some depth as you're letting everyone get upfield. And then so the quarterback can kind of dump it over them. And then you've got that whole screen set up. Jordan Love is definitely mobile enough to be able to make that play work. You want running backs out of the backfield that can catch the ball well. Well, Aaron Jones was. AJ Dillon can catch it well. Marshawn Lloyd can. Josh Jacobs can. Like, they have the players and playmakers at running back to be able to make that sort of play work. And then you usually want, if you get some of these big lumbering offensive linemen, sometimes it's hard for them to like let their guy kind of get past a little bit and then get upfield quick enough and go and make that block. Green Bay has some of the most athletic offensive linemen in the NFL. Zach Tom is super athletic. Jordan Morgan is super athletic. Myers is able to get to the second level. Elton Jenkins can get to the second level. Rasheed Walker can get to the second. They're not, these big lumbering offensive linemen that can't get downfield. They have every ingredient that they should need. They have wide receivers and tight ends that are willing blockers on the second level. There is literally zero excuse why this screen game in Green Bay should not work. Yet here we are. It has looked awful. And give Green Bay's defense credit. Maybe they'll get into the games and it'll look a lot better. But man, Green Bay's defense has been all over every single screenplay for the entirety of training camp so far. I hope screens are out of the playbook. I get it, Gary. I really do. How about Jordan Love, Jair, and Mr. X for the 3 future Hall of Famers? Yeah, I think Xavier McKinney too. I think anytime you're year 5 in the league, which Xavier is at this point, I don't think. Let me see here. I know he's in year 5, but yeah. So McKinney doesn't have a single Pro Bowl, much less All Pro or first team All Pro, second team All Pro votes. So he's been shut out in his career. If you're in year 5 and you haven't started to show some of that yet, it's really difficult. Like, you're going to have a stretch of like 7-8 years of like All Pro / Pro Bowl caliber play to more get in that conversation. But maybe McKinney can. He's certainly been a very good player in his career so far, and he's off to a great start in Green Bay. But the fact that he's going into year 5 and hasn't really had that like any of those All Pro conversations yet or awards as of yet would lead me a little bit more to believe it's probably not heading in that direction. But hey, you never know, and maybe he can get his first team All Pro this upcoming season. Let's go back a little bit and see where we leave off. All right. Landon. Andy, I've not heard anything at all on Preston Smith. Have you seen anything noteworthy from him? No, it's been a pretty quiet, I think, training camp for Preston so far. And, first of all, he's still very good against the run. I haven't seen much from a pass rush standpoint. Preston's the lone 30-plus-year-old player on this roster. If there's anyone that knows and understands how to pace himself for the season, it's Preston Smith. Like, Preston doesn't need to go out and dominate at practice. Like, I don't think he's like, not trying or anything like that, or just mailing it in. Preston's going to be totally fine. I have no concerns. Now, maybe he loses a half step or something, and maybe he's not quite the same. Green Bay doesn't need Preston to be, 10 sack a year Preston. If he can be a good edge setter, which I guarantee he will continue to be, and he can be a really nice rotational piece with LVN, Enagbare, and Rashan Gary, and you've got those pass rushers on the interior as well. Like, that's kind of what you're looking for, plus his leadership at this point in Preston's career. But my guess is he is pacing himself perfectly for this upcoming season. A player like that, I don't really get too concerned over. We've seen it for an elongated period of time. We know what he's capable of. I don't have any real worries about Preston at this point. Eugene, rewatching the 2010 season, I think Brandon Jackson is underrated in our collective memory. I mean, Brandon did a lot of really good things. He was really good at blitz pickup. The screen game for him was really, really good. He was able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He never quite ended up being the dynamic player that I think he showed coming out of college. Was never obviously like a power guy, but he's one of those guys like a James White for New England that can just do a little bit of everything. And there's so much value in what he brings. And he certainly was a player that I think, was very integral to Green Bay's success. And he was certainly somebody that helped Green Bay in those seasons. But yeah, I think he probably could deserve a little bit more credit. Was never, again, a big time running back, but he definitely had his moments. It was definitely a plus player for Green Bay. Aside from Rodgers, who does Love remind you of all time? That's a really good question. I think to a large extent, he's kind of his own guy. Sometimes see a little Phillip Rivers with him, not the same arm angle or anything like that, but just kind of the overall outcome of what you kind of get from Jordan. You clearly see a little bit, you see definitely signs of Aaron, no questions about it. Yeah, I'd have to maybe think about that just a little bit more, but a little Phillip Rivers, a little Aaron Rodgers. I do see a little of Brett Favre in there as well. Yeah, those are kind of some of the names that, come to mind immediately, but certainly Aaron is the one that kind of, just from a play style and some of the nuances and mechanics and things that he picked up from Aaron, that's the easiest to see. Having my second ever Luigi's Pizza, first one was outstanding. It's been really kind of cool to see how people have, tried it for the first time and have really enjoyed it. I've got lots of tweets and DMs of people who have tried the Luigi's Pizza for the first time and have really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, I will not lead you guys astray on pizza. You guys can critique my food takes as much as you want. I promise you, I will not lead you astray when it comes to pizza. Luigi's absolutely fantastic. All right, Ja, how many minutes do you expect the better rookies to get in preseason? Well, I think the unfortunate thing about this, Ja, is that the rookies are pretty banged up right now. Jordan Morgan is hurt. Kitan Oladapo is just coming back from injury. Marshawn Lloyd's been a little bit banged up. And then what else? Who am I missing? You've got, so Pratt's fine. Glover and Monk are fine. Oh, Edgerrin Cooper and Tyron Hopper. Edgerrin Cooper and Tyron Hopper are both out hurt right now as well. So we're not going to get Jordan Morgan. We're not going to get Hopper. We're not going to get Edgerrin Cooper. But I think the other guys, I would expect to see a decent amount. I think we're going to get a lot of Evan Williams and Javon Bullard at safety. I think we'll see a little bit of Glover at tackle. I think we're going to see a lot of Jacob Monk on the interior of the offensive line, probably some at center, probably some at guard. But yeah, I think we'll get a lot of Marshawn Lloyd at running back. I bet he gets a pretty big look. So yeah, I think those are probably some of the rookies that we're going to get a bigger look at. Watson's idol is Randy Moss. Do you see some similarities? I mean, Randy Moss is 1-of-1, right? Like that dude is one of a kind. I don't think we've ever seen. I mean, yes, there's a Megatron out there and there's some people that definitely you can compare a little bit, but like I said, Randy Moss is 1-of-1. There's nobody quite like him, but the way that he runs and the way that he's able to high the ball, stretch the field down the field. And then I think what, sometimes with Randy, you forgot how fast he was after the catch, and Watson certainly has some of that as well. So you can see some of the similarities, no doubt, but always that's, one of the greatest, if not the greatest at all time when he was in his prime. Those are always lofty expectations. Miranda, I'm really looking forward to watching AJ this year. What are your thoughts on his camp so far? Do you think he'll get a decent amount of playing time in preseason? I'm assuming you mean AJ Dillon. Yeah, I think you guys know, I was not shy, but I didn't think Dillon was going to be back. And then I very much was adamant that I loved the deal that Green Bay was able to get from him. There's no reason not to bring him back on that contract. But with that contract and with very little guarantee, I talked all offseason about how, hey, if Emmanuel Wilson or one of these other undrafted backs makes it even close, they're going to go with the younger guy who's cheaper, who has more years of team control and maybe more long-term upside. That's what they're going to look at. It is, but the burden of proof is going to be on Wilson and the other running backs to make it close. And Dillon has just made it not close at this point. He's been really, really good. The blitz pickup he had on Rashan Gary the other day was phenomenal. He is catching the ball well out of the backfield. He is running, I think, with more agility and more burst than we have ever seen out of Dillon. He is in unbelievable shape. I don't think Dillon's going anywhere. And if maybe one of these other running backs steps up, could you maybe trade Dillon for something? Sure, maybe, but I would be pretty surprised. And I think right now it's trending that Dillon not only is going to make the team, but that he's going to be their number 2 back probably to start the year. And he's deserved it and earned it so far. And yes, I do think we will get some AJ Dillon, maybe not more than like a quarter of Dillon, but I do think we'll get some Dillon in preseason coming up. All right. How many reps do you think the better? Oh no, we answered that one. Do you know what the new building is under construction by the practice field? Looks like a hotel, but was hoping it was additional seating for fans. No, I don't think it's that. I'm assuming it is something commercial, but I don't know for sure, Jimmy. Is JM upset about being put at guard when how much more a tackle can make in their next contract? Is it likely he could move year 2 if he gets entrenched at guard? My guess is he's not upset. He's a rookie coming into the league, first round pick, and he wants probably every opportunity to go and compete for a starting job. You have to remember too. Let me see here. Just want to bring this up really quick. Sorry for the wait. Hopefully it can come up soon. So this offseason, Robert Hunt went from Miami to Carolina, got a 5-year, $100 million deal, right? 5 years, $100 million, $20 million per year. You had Mike Onwenu for New England, who has that tackle guard versatility, who got 3 years, $57 million, $19 mil per year. Jonah Jackson, guard from Detroit to LA, 3 years, $51 million, $17 million per year. So there were some pretty significant guard contracts that were out there. This is not, back in the day where tackles would get paid a ton and guards would get paid nothing. Guards and offensive linemen in general are extremely valued right now. And if you're one of the best guards in the league, you can still get a monster paycheck. So my guess is he's not too worried about it. He's got a long way to go to figure that out. Elton actually has the clause in his contract where he gets paid a whole bunch more if he plays tackle, and he's been staying at guard. So, I think you just kind of go with it. I don't think there's any real angst or frustration, and he's got every right to go out and earn that starting right guard job spot, which I don't think he'd be competing really with Walker or Zach Tom for that starting spot at tackle right now. Happy Friday to you too, Vero. Are we going to see a lot of Cooper? Not right now because he's out injured showtime. When he gets back, he was behind Wilson and McDuffie and Quay to begin camp. And it's up to him to kind of show that he's ready to step up and be the guy that can play over those guys. And so far it hadn't been the case. He's looked good. I don't think there's been any major issues with him, but he's got to go out and show what he's capable of. And right now, again, unfortunately, he's banged up and we don't have an estimated time of return for him at the moment. Could you seen them cut Keisean King because Rochelle has more special teams value? I don't think so. I think if that were the case, they would try to maybe keep 7 corners, or maybe even if they want to go in that direction, I think maybe more Corey Ballantyne. I'm going to do that forever. Corey Ballantyne would be the one where maybe he would be a little bit more in jeopardy. I think Keisean King showed enough. I don't think it's a lock by any means that King makes the roster. And you could, because Rochelle does have that special teams value, but I think they're going to go with the upside there. I think they've seen enough from Keisean King, and I'd be semi-surprised at this point if Keisean King doesn't make the 53. Hope we can keep King. There's a lot of potential. I would agree. Zach, they've invested all that capital into Cooper, and he still hasn't really been a starter in camp, and now he's hurt. Is there a real chance he isn't starting in nickel next to Quay week 1? I would say yes, just because we don't know when he's going to come back. I don't even know if he's going to be ready week 1. Maybe he's back on, Wednesday this week. Maybe he's not back for week 1. We just have no idea at this point. Packers have certainly not given a timetable, but even if he gets back, next couple weeks or something, there's no guarantee he works his way into the nickel, and McDuffie has really been good in that spot so far. I still think if he's healthy, he will have a role in some capacity. I think they will use him in certain packages and in certain downs and distances and for certain roles. I think he will get on the field, but it might end up being McDuffie that is the starting nickel next to Quay Walker. And if I were betting right now, who's the starting nickel week 1, I would probably be a little bit more willing to bet Isaiah McDuffie at this point. Let's see. Tucker Kraft is going to the Hall of Fame. All right, sign me up. I'm all for it. Musgrave has got Hall of Fame tools, but I doubt he'll ever reach Pro Bowl status. We'll see. He's a good player. I'm excited for him in year 2, and I think he could make a jump, but he's got to show that he can be a little bit more consistent overall. But I think that's very much within his wheelhouse this upcoming season. Who do you think will be the best rookie for the Packers this year? I think it's whoever ends up being the better safety, whether it's Evan Williams or Javon Bullard, and gets the more playing time. I think that's a really fun competition right now. I think they're both going to get playing time, but whoever wins that battle will be my vote for the player who has the biggest impact from the rookie class this year. Tyron Hopper will be a Hall of Famer. All right, let's do it. Did I screw this up earlier? Oh no, you did say Cooper. I just want to make sure you didn't say Hopper before and not Cooper. Showtime. All right. Elmsy, out of the 3 rookies and Anthony Johnson Jr., who has paired the best with Xavier? I think this is the beautiful thing. I think they kind of all have. I think they all bring a little bit different skill sets to the table. I think Evan Williams' ability to go get the ball and high point it and play a little center field has been impressive. Javon Bullard's, I think, been a little bit better coming down and attacking. And I think Anthony Johnson's just been solid all the way around, doing a little bit of everything well. I still think Anthony Johnson's the 4th guy there. And I think Bullard and maybe Williams pair a little bit better with McKinney, but I think all 3 of those guys pair extremely well. I think a part of that is due to the versatility, A, of all of them, but B, especially of Xavier McKinney, where if you have a guy that's a little bit more of a post guy, Xavier can play in the box. If you have a guy that's a little bit more of a box guy, Xavier can play in the post. And I think they just have a lot of versatility at that position where I think almost any combination of those 2 guys is going to be a pretty good combination from a complementary standpoint. Bryce, will the kickoff changes influence roster structure? Say more safety linebacker to tackle in closer proximity? I think this is an interesting conversation. I think it was maybe Justice that I talked about this a little bit with, but either way, I do wonder how much this will play a factor. I think for the most part, it's probably very similar. All 3 of your other main special teams phases, sorry about that. All 3 of your other main special teams phases are all the same. So punt coverage, punt return, kick return are all the same. That your field goal and field goal block are the same. So like all of those are, not changed. It's just your kick return and kickoff coverage. And I think the kick return will be a lot of the same sort of personnel, and kickoff will be maybe slightly different, but I don't think it's going to have enough influence where you're like, well, now we're going to keep this guy over this guy because of the kick rules. Maybe it would be a little bit more value for a kick returner, which is maybe part of the reason, Keisean is back, and we're seeing some of these kick returner contracts throughout the league, like a Cordero Patterson and those sort of things. But I think overall it's going to remain generally the same. Mastermind, any Keisean Nixon? Andy, Keisean Nixon has been getting cooked all camp. See, I don't know where this is coming from. I totally disagree with this. I don't believe that Keisean's been getting cooked all camp at all. I think he's had a really, really strong start to camp. I think his coverage has been better. He's good against the run. So no, you might be looking at one-on-ones. Don't judge one-on-ones. One-on-ones are a joke for defensive backs, like meaning you're put in such a horrible position. But in team, I think Keisean's actually had a really nice camp. So no, I would vehemently disagree with the idea that Nixon has been getting cooked all camp. All right. We went through that. Zach, Nixon has actually looked good in team drills. There we go. Let's see. Zach knows the score. Drew, have you thought about doing league-wide coverage or integrating into your Packers coverage more, or even doing more NFC North coverage in the offseason? Drew, probably not. I just think what I'm doing right now, covering the Packers, is a 365-day-a-year job as it is, and it takes all this time to do Packers coverage. And unless some crazy entity comes to me and says, Andy, we want to make you a big-time NFL something, which, by the way, number one, I really don't think is happening. And number two, I actually don't think I would probably do it anyway. Yeah, I don't think that, again, that's probably in the cards. And so I'm going to keep kind of doing what I'm doing, and it's working really well right now. It's in a really great spot. I would probably put more of my efforts into continuing to try to make this the best version that it can possibly be, with more live stuff. I think more, higher quality on the, sort of the video stuff, if I can start having time for that. But what I always will tell people, because I know people want more, visuals in the videos and things like that. I only have so much time, all right, in a day. My goals are, one, to get you guys a video in a podcast every single day. And two, make it that the content in those podcasts and in those videos are the best that it can possibly be. If I'm going to spend a lot of time with doing the podcast, I want to make it that when I'm doing a 20, 25, 30-minute podcast, that you're getting the best information that you possibly can, that I have that topic researched, that I have everything that I need to know to speak educatedly on that topic. And I'm going to give you a really strong 30-minute conversation about that individual topic. That's where I want the quality to be. Again, daily episode and a super quality episode as much as I possibly can every single day. And then maybe the next question is, well, why don't you hire somebody to do more, video stuff and more visuals and things like that? Which the answer is, I would be absolutely open to that, save for the fact that Usually the podcasts that we do are timely, meaning they're going to go live the next morning, and most of them are recorded, between midnight and 2 a.m. and they go live at 5 a.m. And I don't know a lot of people that are, wanting to do a lot of that work. And also I would have to get it to them, and then they'd have to do all of the editing within that very small period of time, and then upload it in a very small period of time. And then I would have no ability to sort of check it or do any checks and balances on it. So I know this is maybe a little bit inside baseball, and I apologize for that. Maybe it's a peek behind the curtain. Maybe some of you want, maybe some of you don't want, but the time that I am putting into this right now, I am basically at full capacity for everything that I can give to it. I don't have much more time to do additional content or put any more editing or anything. I am basically at full capacity, and probably still over capacity, even though I'm doing it as a full-time job right now. So I don't have much more to give on that end, to be frank. And I've decided from a very, not only strategic standpoint, but just what I want this to be. I want it to be daily, and I want it to be something that you're getting quality content every single day. And that's what my focus is going to be on. But again, I know it's a roundabout way of answering your question, but so I don't see me taking on any other endeavors at this point in time, or trying to do more NFL stuff. Although I do think draft and NFL would be very fun to do as well. All right. Are the starters playing tomorrow? Those that are healthy will be playing in some capacity. And there may be some exceptions within, I think that's within the realm of possibility, but I think a good chunk of starters will play tomorrow. All right. How about Jordan Love, Jair, and Mr. Exit? We went over that. The Bears need to trade Caleb Williams for Dak Prescott straight across. The Bears will destroy the career of the most talented quarterback out there, but with Dak Prescott is ready day one. I don't think either of those teams are probably the Cowboys would be an interesting conversation on that one. They probably do it. I think the Cowboys definitely do it. The Bears, I don't think are going to make that trade. Certainly not until they get a better feel for Caleb. Lloyd playing Saturday. That is, I think, the plan, but he has been a little bit banged up, but I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't play. Why are people so high on Sean Rhyan and want him to start over Myers? To me, he's been a negative anytime he's played, especially in pass pro, and seems like maybe Monk might pass him. I don't see too much of it right now from a Sean Rhyan, Josh Myers standpoint. And I don't think that's really the conversation. I mean, Myers is your starting center. I get why some people want that maybe not to be the case, or wish there was more competition. I get that. I really, really do. And I've certainly been on that bandwagon as well. But there's no real competition between Sean Rhyan and Josh Myers. And right now, I think the starting five is pretty much set. As far as Sean Rhyan goes, I think first guy up off the bench is a pretty solid role for him. I think he did okay at times last year in that rotational guard role, but there was a reason John Runyon Jr. got more playing time, and Ryan really never beat him out. I think Ryan is a solid run blocker and just a slightly negative pass protector in that role. And it just, he needs to still take a step if he really wants to go out there, earn it, and sort of maintain that starting position. But no, right now, I don't think there's any real conversation between Sean Rhyan and Josh Myers. How is LVN looking in camp, and what do you expect from him this season? He's had a really nice last week. I thought he continues to flash plays, make plays in the backfield in the run game. He's had multiple sacks and pressures. I don't think it's like dominance. I don't think it's like earth shattering, but I think it's a real step in the right direction. I think there is sort of still this Rashan Gary-esque progression where year one was basically Rashan's red shirt. We saw a little bit more out of that than LVN, but you could tell it was a very big learning curve for him last year. Year two of Rashan was, I'm going to play more and I'm going to make a little bit more of an impact. And I think we're going to see that more from LVN. I think he plays more and I think he makes a bigger impact. And then by year three, he was ready to be a starter. And I think next year for LVN, there's a really good chance that he's the starter opposite Rashan Gary. So I still think that trajectory makes sense. I like what I'm seeing out of him. I don't think it's going to be this all of a sudden dominant year two or this huge year two leap, but I think he's making strides in the right direction. I think he's going to be more impactful this year. Also, Andy, thanks. Great to have the happy hours back and running. I agree. I'm excited to be back chatting every single Friday. Should be for a while now. I don't have anything up and coming on the Friday 4 p.m. hour. So I think we should be in a good spot with these moving forward. Preston is probably just hanging out, getting his work in. That could definitely be the case. D-line is looking great. Yes, there's always weigh it out because that means the offensive line maybe hasn't been looking great at times, but I think the defensive line's in a good spot. What could you see the Packers going for in next year's draft? Like how they targeted safety this year? I think there's a couple. I think how Eric Stokes plays and Carrington Valentine plays will go a long way in defining what they want to do at corner next year. That's an interesting one. You can never have enough pass rushers. So I think that's in the cards. I think defensive tackle is a key one. Kenny will probably be in his like the real like last year of his deal next year. This extension is really kind of like a 2-year deal this year and next year. So getting maybe a player that they can count on before Kenny's a free agent could be important. They could lose TJ Slayton next year. They're going to have to make a decision on Devontae Wyatt's 5th-year option. So I definitely think defensive tackles in that conversation. Offensive line, you can never have enough of those. So I think offensive line, Josh Myers, right, will be a free agent. So that's one at center, I think that you could potentially take a look at. And then, I think those are probably the ones. So offensive line, maybe specifically center, defensive tackle, and maybe corner as well. I could see those positions being a little bit more attacked. 10 sack year, Preston would be great. I would certainly take it as well. Gary, I don't see anything 12 and 10 uses the middle of the field. He's coachable, no ego, pettiness. I think you're looking at it the wrong way, Gary. I think some of the mechanics and some of the little side angle throws. And if you go and if you watch it closely, there's actually a decent amount of Aaron. The cadence is obviously uncanny for how he uses the cadence. Just his checks at the line of scrimmage. There's actually a lot of like footwork stuff and mechanical stuff that is very, very similar that Jordan has picked up upon. So I would look a little bit closer on some of those sort of things, not maybe some of the things that you're, kind of commenting on there. Who could be the main post safety outside of Xavier? I think any of them. I think Evan Williams has already shown that. I think Bullard can do it. I think Anthony Johnson Jr. can do it as well. So I think they have a lot of versatility at that safety position. And I think those guys will really have the opportunity. They'll have a lot of opportunity to play that post safety role. Sorry, I did not realize, Ben, that there was a couple of super chats in there. My apologies. Wife had a baby today, Alexander Jair. I love that, Ben. That's really, really cool. And then Preston, and congratulations, by the way, most importantly, congratulations to you and your family. Hope baby and mom are doing healthy, and certainly congratulations to you and your family. Very cool name. I love that. Do you think talent-wise, Megatron is the GOAT wide receiver? I'd probably still go Moss. I think I'd still go Moss. I think there was a little bit more nuance to Randy's game than Kelvin. I know what you mean from a talent standpoint, but I think I would still go Randy Moss in that situation. All right, let's get to the rest of these member chats here. Andy Food Expert Herman. That's not a member chat, but I'm going to post it up there anyway. All right. Let's see. Sorry, just making sure I get to everything here. All right. With this new, more aggressive defense, do we see Rashan Gary's sack numbers explode? Explode, I will say probably not, but I do think they take a step in the right direction. I think he's going to have a really big year. I really do. If he can stay healthy, I think this is the best we've seen Rashan. He's playing violent, aggressive football, getting upfield, not having to think about too much else. I think we're going to see a really, really fantastic year from Rashan Gary. So I don't know what the sack numbers look like. Probably still in that 12 to 13 range, maybe. I don't think we're looking at a 20 sack year, but I think he's going to have a really, really nice year. Gary wants me to stay Packers only. I will do my best. Luigi's Pizza is a frozen pizza. Yes. So it's an excellent frozen pizza. Absolutely. Carmen covers the North. No need for more. And yes, Carmen will be back this year as well. She does a phenomenal job covering the NFC North. If you're not checking her workout regularly, make sure to do so. And like I said, she will be back on the show this upcoming year. Who really knows in a game time situation, someone you didn't expect to really shine and get the starting job? Not sure if there's a context to this, Chris, but in general, I agree with your sentiments here. I think in these game situations, which we see in preseason, I think you start seeing what some of these players are made of. And I think that's what really makes the preseason really fun, and seeing what players step up and grab some of these openings that are out there from a competition standpoint, and really makes the most of them and says, you know what, that's going to be me out there. I'm going to be the starter. I'm going to be the guy. And hopefully some guys take some really big steps in preseason. What you drinking come game time tomorrow? Nothing awesome. I got to coach the team, man. That's always been my philosophy for like the longest time. I can't drink during the game. I got to coach the team. I have drank during some games in my life, but far more often than not, I'm just a junkie. So I'm getting high off the game itself. Don't need any extra anything to be able to do that. And then of course too, I have to cover it right after usually. So I'll probably do a live post game show following tomorrow's game. So hopefully you guys look forward to that. And then of course do a podcast after the game. And while I'm sure it would be very good content if I was completely hammered during some of those, I'm sure there would be some people who might, maybe the numbers would actually spike a little bit. I usually like knowing what I'm talking about and talking about it in somewhat of an educated way. So I usually stay away from that stuff during the game. I'm going to go get some drinks tonight though. So looking forward to that. Omega Weapon 13. How do you feel about the Bears schedule? Looks like they're free. Looks like they're feed the Bears some easy early games. They don't even play the Packers until week 11. I'll say the first thing is I don't think there's anything that goes into putting that schedule together from a, well, we got to give the Bears easy games. I don't think there's anything like that. But yeah, I mean, when you finish worse in the standings, you get an easier schedule. And, it's a formulaic approach. So you play everyone in your division twice. You play whatever, AFC division that you are set to play against. You play a team that finished with a similar record in a specific division in the AFC for that additional game. And then whether it's home or away is based on what year it's in. You play the team that finished with the same record in each of the other divisions. That's not the division that you play every team from. So there's 3 teams that you will play based on the record that they finished with. And that's how they ultimately come to the schedule. It's the AFC team and then the 2 other divisions. So if you finish first in the division, you're going to face, 3 first place division teams from around the NFL in those 3 additional games. And if you finish last, you're going to face 3 last place teams from a season ago. So yeah, there's a formulaic approach to the strength of schedule, and Chicago finished worse than Green Bay. So yeah, they're going to have an easier schedule than Green Bay. Austin wants some Hammered Herman content someday. And maybe someday for this happy hour, I'll do a little drinking ahead of time and we can do a real true Hammered Herman happy hour. There's some real solid alliteration there too. Hi, Andy. Love the show. Stoked I get to catch the happy hour for once. Happy you could be here. Appreciate the support a ton. Chris says he will drink a cold one for me. Appreciate that, Chris. Appreciate it a ton. And like I said, I will definitely be having a couple tonight. Anything else? Any other big questions that we want to get to? Oh, here, Nick, thanks for being a member for a month, buddy. Happy Friday. Stoked about the preseason starting tomorrow. Hope you're doing well. I am doing great. Could not be any better at this point in time. Hammered Herman happy hour will just be Andy after the Pack wins the Super Bowl. I'm there for that. It's just literally going to be being like, just celebrating. It's not even going to be any like remotely good content. It's just going to be like me saying yes, like over and over and just celebrating the entire time. Just like a 5-minute video. Mr. Mikey, I am not going to Brazil. I would love to. The way that I sort of cover the team, I'm not, how do I want to put this? I'm not paid by anybody to go to the games, meaning there's nobody that's paying for my travel. There's nobody that's paying for the hotel. There's nobody that's doing any of that. So anything that I do from a travel standpoint for the game, not some tax write-off, of course, but that comes out of pocket. So I have to be a little bit smart with from an ROI standpoint of how that works. Also, it's just kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest, too. So all right, am I going to record live stuff from Brazil? Do I need to record a bunch of stuff ahead of time? And then I think, too, is let's say I go to Brazil. Let's even say I do some content there and have some other people fill in for me while I'm gone. That's always, that's a kind of a whole to do as well, or recording episodes in advance. That takes a lot out of it. But then let's say I go to the game and then, maybe fly out 2 days later or whatever. Now I'm way backed up on content and grading the team. And the worst thing from as the season's kicking off is immediately starting from behind and be like, oh my goodness, I'm so behind on everything. It is everything that I do at this point has a very formulaic approach to it. Meaning what I mean by that is I don't have a formula for my content or anything like that, but it's I should say not formulaic. I should say routine approach. Every day of the season and the off season, I basically know where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, how I'm going to produce the content, everything like that. And you get out of that rhythm and it's actually kind of a huge pain in the ass. And so it's just a little bit different. I would love to go. I think it'd be fun, but it just kind of gets everything a little bit out of rhythm, unfortunately. Send Andy to Brazil fund. Jonathan, I appreciate it a ton. I will say this. When it's back in London again, or anywhere in Europe, I'm definitely going to go. No question about it. I had so much fear of this. Now it worked out okay because they lost and that would have been a huge bummer. But man, the morning of that game, did I have the biggest fear of missing out. I wanted to be there so freaking bad. And I'm like, you idiot. Because obviously I get credentials to the game. I could have been in, you absolute idiot. And I was so mad the entire game that I didn't go. And then, I'm not going to say thankful that they lost. I still wish they would have won, obviously. But that was the one saving grace of all right, at least they kind of blew it at the end. And that would have been disappointing. But if they go to Europe again, I'm definitely going to go. Amar, good to see you, buddy. Eden, do you feel like your press room skills have improved since a few months ago when you felt like there was an opportunity for improvement? I've always thought you've done a great job. Yeah, I would say that they've improved, I think, from when I've started, which is crazy, by the way. I was thinking about this. I posted this on Twitter the other day. This is year 6 already. year 6 that I've been credentialed. That is insane. I think it feels weird because 19, it happened like the day before the season started, meaning like the actual regular season. Like I got notified that like, yep, I'm going to be on Packer Report and I'm going to be covering the team and I'm going to get credentialed. So like that came out of nowhere. And then 19 just flew by. Then in 20, you had the COVID year where everything was from home. Then 21 was like the continuation of the COVID where everything was just a little bit different. Then 22 like was like the return to normalcy. And then 23 was just last year. And then all of a sudden, you're in 24. So I'm already like, wait, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 is year 6. So so we're in year 6 already, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's kind of where things are at. But I do feel like it's gotten a lot better from when I've started till now. Like, I don't know that I've made any like monumental jumps from 3 months ago or whatever, but it's definitely something that I've wanted to try to improve upon. And I do think for the most part, where my questions are at are hopefully leaning a little bit more towards better answers than I think where they were when I very first started. All right. I think that's going to do it. We'll do one last one here for Dwayne. Even with several rookies being injured, it seems like the overall number and severity of injuries this camp is I shouldn't have said this. Dwayne, we are not jinxing anything to end anything today. We're going to pretend that question never happened. But for the most part, yes, I agree with you. And we're not going to answer Jesse's question, but we're not. All right, somebody's got to ask a better question. We're not leaving on injuries. How has Kitan been looking? Nothing major so far. Like he's behind the other 4 safeties. He's getting minimal time in team so far. I think this preseason game, I'm hoping he plays. I think we'll maybe get our really first good look at Kitan. Like there's nothing bad, by the way. There's no bad plays that he's made. I just think he's still kind of working off the rust and getting back in the swing of things from missing all of rookie minicamp, OTAs minicamp, and training camp as well. Favorite soda. That's a great place to end. Love Orange Mountain Dew. Love Mountain Dew. Those are probably my favorites. Yeah. Mountain Dew and Orange Mountain Dew. All right, friends. Hope you are excited as I am for preseason game 1, Packers Browns tomorrow. For those of you who are Pack-A-Day members, tomorrow's pregame show with Dennis Krause, by the way, it was a lot of fun talking to him. That is already up for your member enjoyment. For everyone else, that'll be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to get a Ross Uglum episode up here pretty quick if I have enough time to before I go to dinner tonight. And then I'm going to try to get a bonus episode for all of you guys that are members either tomorrow or Sunday. So that should be coming as well. But yeah, and then a pregame show for Ross will be put up there as well. So keep an eye out for all that stuff. A lot of really fun content coming. And then, of course, live post-game show should be tomorrow. I'm going to do obviously a review of the game for Sunday morning. And then I'm going to be grading Packers preseason game on Sunday. I cannot freaking wait. And we'll go over those on Monday. Plus, Perry Goldstein will be back for Monday as well. A lot of really, really fun stuff coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. I know I am just geeked out of my mind for everything already. Appreciate all of you guys being here. I will see you all soon. Enjoy your Friday. Until next time. And as always, go Pack Go.